Welcome back. Flat markets but stable markets. The good thing is that we've got 766 advances to 367 declining stocks. Dalmia Cement should come up on your screen. Last couple of days has been quite a bit of excitement around that counter leading up to its restructuring. Stocks holding around 249 rupees now. Puneet Dalmia, Managing Director of Dalmia Cements, joins in to discuss the rationale behind the restructuring that they have put out. Puneet, morning. Thanks for joining in. Before you talk about cement and what the new company will look like, I just want your thoughts on the residual business, because there's been so much pessimism about the sugar cycle, falling prices, and sugar stocks have got clobbered. What's your take on where this cycle is at this point?
I think we are seeing increasing regulation from the government. There was clearly a very inflationary trend in prices, and the short-term impact of government intervention has been very negative for the industry. My own view is that the demand-supply situation is still quite healthy and favorable, and the prices will head north from here. But I think I'm a little concerned about increased regulation and a slightly short-term view on the policymakers that policymakers have on this sector. So I think we are hoping that the government will take a bigger picture view and involve all stakeholders in getting a more, sustainable pricing policy for cane.
Puneet, morning. That doesn't seem to be the only problem for sugar actually. Globally, prices have come off quite sharply. We believe many Indian companies may have actually defaulted on some of their import obligations. I mean, candidly, when you step back, would you say that the sugar cycle has probably seen its peak, and from here on prices, I mean, they may hold at this level, but they're not going back to where they were 2 quarters back?
No, clearly, I think this is a cyclical sector, and I think prices went up way too fast, way too quickly. And I think some correction was expected. The current correction, in my mind, has gone in the other direction. And my view is that they will stabilize at a slightly higher level from the present level over a period of time. So I think commodities is a turbulent business. It's cyclical, it's volatile, and sugar is a global business, unlike cement. So we have to be ready to accept the risks which are inherent in this kind of a play.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the demerger that you announced yesterday then. Tell us more about DCB Renewable Energy and Industries, and what kind of growth you think that one can eke out versus...
So the rationale behind the restructuring is to increase transparency and to accelerate our growth. I think investors will now have access to pure play companies, and they can choose which company they like and which company they want to invest in. It will also allow us to access different segment of investors for our different businesses. So Dalmia Cement will be a sugar company, and it will be renamed after the scheme is approved by the courts and the regulators. And also Dalmia Bharat Enterprises Limited, which will be a cement and power company, and which will house all our cement assets, will have access to growth in the cement and power sector. Largely, we are currently focused on growing our cement business immediately. We have concrete plans, as we have spoken about in the past. We have a 10 million ton expansion in our subsidiary called Dalmia Cement Ventures. And I think this structure will allow us to access different pools of capital more effectively, and it will increase our flexibility to access capital. So we can access public market capital through the listed entity, which is Dalmia Bharat Enterprises Limited. Dalmia Renewables will be, the name will be changed to Dalmia Bharat Enterprises. We've already applied for a name change. And we can also attract private equity capital in the unlisted entity, which is Avnija. And I think that will allow us to go to different segments of the market to fund our expansion plans. So I think in all, we believe that this structure will long-term provide us with a platform to accelerate our growth, and also it will improve transparency for all investors.
Puneet, while your plan to grow the cement business is quite aggressive, something which your investors like, the one concern is that right now a lion's share of your capacity services the southern markets, which are which have obviously not done as well as the northern part of the country. That includes Andhra Pradesh. When you take your capacity from 9 million tons to 18, 19 million tons over the next 3 years, how much of that will continue to service the southern markets? How much of it will be east where you're already present, and how much the lucrative northern and central parts of the country?
I think our long-term vision is to be a pan-India player, and we have been incubating projects across the country. We have projects which are at different stages of development. So in some projects we have mining leases, land as well as environmental permits. In some projects we have only mining leases and we are starting to buy land. So I think over the next 5 to 7 years we will emerge as a player with multi-regional presence. But presently I think the South and East India footprint gives us some diversification from regional imbalances. But net-net, I think the short-term concerns in South are a little bit overplayed. If I look at the last 10 years, South has grown more than the rest of the country in terms of demand growth. And I think because of the political issues in Andhra Pradesh as well as Karnataka and the flood situation in both these states, there has been some subdued demand growth this year, but my view is that it will catch up. So overall, I think in the short term, Udayan, we will still be a South and East India player. Over the next 2 to 3 years, I don't see that changing very significantly, even though our new plants will be under construction. But I think over a 5 to 7 year, you will see that 70% of our revenues will come from our existing markets, and maybe 30% of our revenues will start coming from new regions.
Want a quick comment on power. How aggressive are you on the power side of the business, which will be the other leg of Dalmia Bharat? Is it only for in-house consumption for the cement businesses, or do you have big plans on power as a business per se?
I think right now we are very focused on growing and consolidating our position in the cement business. The power business is an enabling structure because we see a very big opportunity in the power sector. And currently it will begin with our captive power plants. But we are in the process of incubating some merchant power opportunities. But it is early days yet for us. And I think once those plans become more concrete, we will be able to share. So I think power is a 3 to 5 year play, and we'll see how it goes. But presently it's all captive with 10% merchant, and I think we will want to expand our merchant share as we go in the next 5 years.
There's a fear though, Puneet, that because of these capacity expansion plans you have and the fact that your realizations are probably not as strong as some of your North Indian peers, you as a company will have to suffer more in terms of financial leverage, in terms of equity dilution. I mean, you've indicated that you do have, funding tied up, but can you just detail that for the DREIL side, what exactly the funding plans are?
I think as of now, we are in talks with private equity investors, and we are planning to raise capital in the company Avnija, which I expect to close in the next 8 weeks. So I think this structure will create some dilution, but I think it will be accretive from the present shareholders' point of view. Our stock was trading at $60 a ton. And all in our growth, we were deploying capital at $100 a ton. So I think that kind of dilution would have been, value destructive for existing shareholders. But I think this structure will provide us opportunities to raise capital, which will enhance shareholder value rather than, deplete value from existing shareholders.
Okay, Puneet, we'll leave it there. We wish you luck. You'll be renaming Dalmia Cements, right?
Yes, I think after the court scheme is approved, it will become a sugar company and the name will reflect that.
Okay, thanks for joining in. That's Dalmia Cements with how their demerger plans work out. Let's switch gears.